Attention! Immediately stop and pause this video and read the following disclaimer. If you are visually impaired, then have a trustworthy individual read the disclaimer for you. You must read the entire disclaimer, otherwise you automatically stipulate to being bound by the terms of the following disclaimer.
Well, I took a little break, and I'm back here for the last 8 pages of my series here for I don't know how long. This is the second half of my video series, and this topic's called the Bible versus Bible and related info. One Bible set of verses makes it clear: doing the right thing at the right time is all important. That also translates into that some loser type, by doing the right thing at the right time, can catapult themselves into hero status and thus earn the eternal bliss reward. Whereas the jackass makes loud noises to intimidate the wrong people. Doing things out of step with what needs to be done, and makes further progress difficult, so they receive the eternal punishment reward. Instead, that's what people do, in the wrong thing at the wrong time. It is clearly a dangerous time to be an F up, unless of course you are effing up in a way that needs to be done. This way only due to religious matters and conditions. You only F things up as per that instruction of that. The movie Legion appropriately covers this topic when the Archangel Michael says to the Archangel Gabriel, or Archangel, I don't know how you pronounce that exactly. He says, "You," speaking to Gabriel, "do what God wants done, but I do what God needs done." And this sums it up as pertaining to people that do rotten things on this planet. As some of them are actually needed, and God is going to reward these, or forgive these people, provided they don't jump off the Mount Retard. However, this is a very slippery slope, as it's like kids having to put their toys away. After they're done, they think they're going to put them away. Do you think they're going to put them away? Probably not. For most, it is a Herculean effort, struggle for them to do this. Same thing with crime and rotten behaviors. As people that do rotten things in the name of God, mostly don't want to stop after God tells them, put your toys away. I am not advocating violent or rotten behaviors, but just trying to explain how it is. This world will never get turned around without violence, thus necessitating a need for bad people, unless of course people do an about face in their attitude. But do you think this will happen? Probably not. Yes, the only way is, it sounds weird, but that's the way it is. The only way to win this war in this world is to have your own set of serial killers, have your own set of gang rotten members, and other people doing rotten stuff. Because without it, you just won't win, because the courts and all these things got all these people all involved. So if you don't have rotten people, you won't win, and that's why there's, that's why the Antichrist, even, like that, is there's another half part to it, you know. I'm not advocating these things, and they shouldn't be, but you know, that's the way it is. That's how the system functions. You can't get anywhere without them, you know. And that the sad part is they start getting cocky and doing jackass shit, so they really, you know, take away from what their value is. Because in the end, God's going to take jackass behavior into consideration and say, well, you were doing all this, you know. Yeah, it's like that movie, what's that, Platoon or whatever, you know. At the end, the guy says, you know, guess what, saddle up, you got, you know, you're going back out on a mission after I nearly got killed on this goofy mission they were on. You know, it's the same story, you know. They never get out of the, going on the next mission. So anyway, here's the next topic: is father, mother, and people of the opposite sex are both important. I have observed throughout my whole life a majority of people that take one parent's side or the other as a matter of absolute policy. I may have taken one side or the other through my you know, through my life, not, you know, not necessarily absolutely, you know, though not absolutely, but I realize that a mother and a father are both equally important. Even if one of them treats you like a dingbat, one must say to himself or herself, the parent, or it could be both, you know. For some people that always treats myself bad is only malformed, and in spite of this is still my parent. I mean, you know, there are limits. I mean, somebody could be so beyond that you can't even really call them a parent, but that's basically it for most people, though. That's the only family, that's only the family you got. For better or worse, even though under those conditions it may be better to separate. It can be just as dangerous or even worse to stay in a family situation, do it for all others, you know, for all other things like job, marriage, etc. You may have to leave those too. Yeah, it might be, you know, stay in these family situations and other stuff where one is not wanted. It's like that song, "Smiling Faces" sometimes smiling faces sometimes they don't tell the truth, and the enemy, you know, where he's coming from, you know, which is the family part, as people saying, having intimate knowledge of a person's life can use it to do more damage than most others. Yeah, that song "Smiling Faces" is one of the greatest songs ever. It just it says, you know, smiling faces, sometimes they don't tell the truth, you know. It's just a fantastic song. Unfortunately, people wait too long to separate many times. You know, separation is good for people that are never going to get along, and there are just some combinations of people that separation is the only way to go. In fact, in some instances, it's probably better to stay separated for good, as many of these toxic relationships usually rekindle when a reunion is tried. I guess Hitler had one thing right, and that is separation. Separation may be the way to go. Only not the way he envisioned it. So love thy father and thy mother the best you can, and separate if necessary. And remember, they're still part of you, no matter what how bad things are. That's told in the Bible, you know, honor your mother and father, you know, which is true. You should do that up to a certain extent, you know. I don't know if that's what the Bible means to a certain extent, but it's obvious that, you know, blanket blanket support just doesn't work. So I think you glean that from the Bible, that there's other places where it shows that it doesn't work, you know. All right, moving on here. Monopolies have taken over our lives, and misuse of religion is the cause. Like I have said over and over again, Jesus' successor has returned, and he is being used as a bargaining chip, as people are constantly thinking and implementing ways to try to bump him off, and thus to prevent him from being liquidated. Concessions are made to vast organizations to get even bigger and bigger. That is godlike status. These companies, these organizations, and government are becoming they have godlike status. And this is an effort to control people. But these organizations have become a danger in their own right. This is where all the outrageous and draconian laws and policies have come from. So what you get are these monopolistic organizations combined with a dopey citizen that think they're going to use the messenger as a bargaining chip to get their own little way. That is like do drugs, be obnoxious, and get away with it, do other malices and totally worthless crusades. That is why most people are on the path to eternal slavery, as they are effing with the wrong person. That's hilarious. Yeah, you think they're like somebody beyond, like a million leagues beyond Trump or any of these people, and they're messing with them like they're like a little kid or something. That's, I could see how the assumption could be made, but that's about the only person that they can't mess with. It is ironic. If it were someone famous, that would they would be going ooh ah ooh, they the man. When in reality this reason person has no power that they're worshiping, as it only applies to one little stint on earth, and end of story. But people like Jesus are like Hitler to the nth power, where their consequences and wrath will continue on and on and on, and are not to be harmed in any way. Holding a messenger hostage is the cause for all the outrageous monopolies we have today, and it also accounts for crooks and legal system gone hog wild too. Yeah, if people thought they were going to spend another 13.6 billion years, like basically kind of being in prison because God makes up where you're born and everything, people wouldn't. You know what? They would be like church mouses. They wouldn't say anything. They'd walk down the hall. They'd stay on the other side, like with a sheepish look on their face. It's hilarious, but they don't. I don't know. They just don't think. People think that atheism is the way it's going to be, and that's very ironic. That's very a bad assumption, because it's not the way it is. All right, let's stop a topic now that's come up again, because some states are making some very stringent abortion laws, but it's about abortion. It's about sealing the world with evil people, and not about killing innocent babies. Even though for some this also plays a part. Some people are, who wants to kill a little baby? I mean, that plays a part. I mean, judging by people's behavior, worrying about another person getting killed is not a concern. You know, most people don't care as long as their little world isn't tweaked. They don't care who's getting killed. You say that can't be so. Well, then at the moment, why are there are multitudes of nukes enough to kill the world many times over, pointed at people? That proves people have little regard for others' lives, as long as they are not harmed. You know, men also play an indirect role in the abortion process. As example, Herod executed all the babies. An example of that's an example of an indirect form of abortion used by man to control religious influence in society. Yeah, Herod executed all babies about 3 months old or less in an effort to snuff out baby Jesus, who everyone knew was going to be born. And the sign of when he was going to be born was approximately 1,000 years or more. You know, maybe the dawn of man, who knows, before he was born. But like, I think 1,000 or 900 years is documented when they knew or something. But I would say even before then, because mankind plays the coyote and doesn't admit exactly what the truth is going on is. So before he was born, Jesus, that is, he probably before Adam and Eve, and probably when human intelligence first came into existence with the caveman and woman, you know, is when they knew about Jesus. You say how is this possible? Well, if a divine force is giving someone signals, even the cave people, if they've given someone signals in an indirect manner, then they will figure it out eventually, and probably soon. Even creatures on the lowest end of the evolution scale can figure things out from signals, like Pavlov's dog thing, experiment. The movie Premonitions demonstrates how people get signals from God just like this. In fact, this type of thing happening over and over again is in the Bible. So why would it stop after Jesus? It didn't. Because the answer is it never really stopped. It did stop, as God's input into this world is an ongoing process that still exists. The process was just killed off in mankind's imagination to fit its own script, so that it can get away with whatever it wants. Abortion is about religion and seeding the world with evil people to put the Antichrist into power, and not about killing babies. I guess there's a pro-argument against abortion too, is that you can stop good people from coming too. It's the same, all these issues have basically got a double side to them. So, that would be another thing. It could be for that. How it works is, I don't know. People get a feeling, and then they know who's coming or whatever. So, I don't know how it works, but that's the way it is. That's what abortion is really about. It's not about saving babies and all this baloney. People don't care, and that's judging by what they do and say. And we notice that there's a lot of abortion concentration going now. So what they're looking for is another person to carry the torch, so people don't have to they don't have to get their hands dirty, and they just follow around. It's the same thing, Jesus and all these people. They just follow them around instead of breaking the mold and doing things that they know are not right, or doing that are right. So the next topic is the Bible hard to believe. believes. The Bible says Moses lived over 900 years old. Is that concocted, or you know, I mean, that's a little less fantastic than the one about Daniel's cohorts in the Bible jumping in and out of a furnace and coming out unscathed, as God was shielding them from the furnace, which is maybe a little less plausible sounding than a Dracula movie. We don't know if that's some kind of rhetorical thing or like imagery about the furnace thing, Daniel, but that is written in the Bible. So it sounds concocted, but who knows? But what if God has both dynamic and static powers of control? Static control is when and God created the Big Bang, or the beginning of the universe, in which He tweaked the very fabric of this creation, so that when the three guys jumped into the furnace, all the waves of heat just happened to follow parallel lines around them, so that it never went into their bodies. In other words, static control is God creates the seed originally, but let the dice roll further, without further input, knowing that at the specific time when they jumped into the furnace, the exact conditions would unfold, creating an extreme miracle. Static control is like a computer program. Its structure and logic never changes, and it does what it does when it's needed. Where dynamic control is more of an active, injected signal. Where, say, for example, when the Great Flood in Noah's Ark's time, people's average age of death gradually dropped from about 100 years old, which could be something, dropped to around 100 years old, which could be something within God's dynamic control, whereby the reducing of lifespan was a punishment. The Bible posits that people live like around 900 years old before the Great Flood, and then it drastically drops, like 120 or something. That's hard to believe, but it could be possible in some kind of, pre-screwed up world, that God had. It could be possible that people live old, that mankind caused people to live less. All this sounds preposterous, but what if it is the way it is? Remember, it would only take one miracle in the Bible to be true. To turn all theories upside down, because if it is a static control, then God would have to tweak every particle, every wave, and all other things in the universe to accomplish this. And it was dynamic. If it was dynamic control, it would still be most startling and beg the question of how this can be done. And there must be some intelligent force at work in the universe. Indeed, intelligent beings, mankind included, tweaking the universe may be detectable way far away, as non-luck events are anomalies in the universe. This whole area of can certain events in the Bible actually be true is so fascinating. Yet many claims seem so preposterous. They do. And in recent years, evidence to support Bible claims have been uncovered. Example, drought time periods, sulfur balls in area throughout thought to be Sodom and Gomorrah, flood evidence. So don't count this old guy out yet. The old guy being the Bible. The 900-year thing is going to be awful difficult. That's like one of the high-end scale that's hard to believe and prove. Or the furnace thing is like about the maximum. But are these some kind of allegorical or rhetorical stories? That could be too. It's just like the Revelations got so many of that in. Only time will tell, and maybe never be proved. This next topic, Nostradamus. I know that upon hearing me mention his name, that a bunch of people will think I am starting up some crackpot discussion. But the truth of the matter is that his predictions, like the Bible, are one of the few things that have nearly an airtight plausibility to them. In Nostradamus' case, it only applies to certain statements. Now, could that be Nostradamus is a quack, right? Well, to the greatest extent of my knowledge, there is one thing he predicted that is documented to come true. That is the death of Henry II. You have to be very careful, though, that even this may be a clever misfact to set up a false, fake or false narrative. But as far as information goes, this seems to be true. An unbiased history professor may be able to shed more light on this. Anyway, one for Nostradamus in round one, I would think. The whole credibility to at least some of Nostradamus' writing basically boils down to things or hinges on one set of quatrains. A quatrain is a 4 verses in a poem-like structure that is repeated to make up a book. So one of his quatrains, he mentions in the year 1999 will come the great king of terror, and that's a paraphrase. The year 1999 is the whole crux. He only mentions dates in his whole book about 3 times. One is the end of the world, predicted in 3797. Other ones I don't know, I don't recall. And it's very rare when Nostradamus mentions a date, which is a red flag of validity, if it can be shown to be so. So what you say, why is this so important? It is important as if you look at today's events. Which is 1999, fits perfectly. Not a little, not to a mediocre extent, but spot on for what is taking place nowadays, and that's Armageddon. 1990s were critical times in this process. 1999 was critical too. The Persian Gulf War, 9/11, 2001, only 2 years after 1999. This king of terror is supposed to be from the Middle East. Is it any surprise that in 1991 Iraq was invaded? I believe it was around 1999 by the U.S.A. and that 9/11, 2001 was only 2 years after 1999. That is awfully coincidental and suggests the possibility that advanced knowledge was used to prevent this great king of terror from starting World War III. Nostradamus mentions the end of the world in the year 3797. So let us make the very limiting assumption that Nostradamus uses only dates from 1999 to 3799. 97, which is about a 1800-year span. So the odds of him picking a relevant date should be about 1 in 1800. But he had it on the nose, practically speaking. In probability theory, this is an extreme data point that almost absolutely rules out luck. But wait, it gets worse for non-Nostradamus fans. I limited the date to a small span, but using his time of around the 1550s to 3797 now brings it up to a 1 in 2,250 chance of getting it right. The lower this number goes, the more impossible it would be for him to not get it right there. The lower the number, the larger his chance of getting it, that he got it. Something could be, it might not be luck. Finally, what the F, we could raise it to the year 10,000 or 20,000 and so on, which would start getting into the astronomical odds category. So you see, it is basically impossible to dismiss Nostradamus as a quack, all because of this one little date. But that date does not stop there, as he makes many unusual statements with unusual verbiage that seem to jive with reality. The thing about 45 degrees, New York is roughly 45th parallel. You know, a great blast will occur. This is a paraphrase from his quatrains. You know, that is a potential unusual statement, as it seems George W. Bush may have let the planes take down the towers to prevent the terrorists from nuking New York instead. So it isn't all just the 1999 date, even though without this date, showing that Nostradamus has credibility is going to be much more of an uphill battle. Like the Bible, Nostradamus uses medieval, ancient verbiage and makes so many references to things only people in the time would understand, that one must be an historical genius, you know, or maybe a history professor, to fully, you know, comprehend how much validity Nostradamus may have. To me, that one little 1999 phrase turns around the whole validity challenge to Nostradamus's work towards him having the validity, and you know, instead, you know, he has a validity. Somebody has to prove that he's not wrong. It's, you know, and other oddities in Nostradamus's work are things like he mentions in several places that the scale of destruction is one of a worldwide nature. Now, in the 1500s, I don't know if they even had cannons at that time, and that would be the closest thing to a WMD they had back then. Yet Nostradamus talks like some person in modern times that would find the possibility of worldwide destruction at the hands of man a commonplace thing. Yeah, we don't even know. I think maps were around back then, but they were sketchy, even the whole world. You know, I'm not even sure there was at this time. It was like just starting. I have read Nostradamus' work a couple of times, and this element of his work has always made me wonder, as it's something that gives one a subconscious feeling that there could be some validity to his work. The three antichrists that Nostradamus predicts lines up about perfectly with reality. It is almost irrefutable that Hitler was one of these antichrists. Not in the true sense of the word, as Hitler probably had no special religious powers. You know, an antichrist, a real person on the other hand, does have special religious powers. Yeah, Hitler was not a true antichrist as far as biblical definition is concerned, but he made up for it with his evil ways, supposedly from Nostradamus's. Yeah, I mean, you know, he made up for it with his evil ways. Yeah, that's the thing. Any of these people in this world are really not Antichrist. The Antichrist is being hidden, trying to hide it, which is not possible. But people like Hitler and all these other people that want to be Antichrist, that are supposed Antichrist, are only people Antichrist. They aren't a real Antichrist. Because a real Antichrist has their evil and then has evil powers. So that's where that's all wrong. Any Antichrist is really, even when Nostradamus mentions 3 Antichrists, they're not really Antichrists in biblical terms. They're people Antichrists. Supposedly from Nostradamus analysts, Hitler is the second Antichrist and Napoleon is the first. I know little about Napoleon, so I would have to take other people's word for it. But one thing that sticks out is that both Napoleon and Hitler were driven into defeat by trying to attack Russia. That is weird, as the coincidence could be something. Nostradamus' third Antichrist is one that causes total global-wide destruction, which fits in with someone that has real religious power. Same as Jesus, but flipped upside down for evil purposes, is an Antichrist. Again, for a man in the 1500s, where catapult is still a major weapon, it is weird that Nostradamus rambles on about worldwide destruction. His statements must have been extremely radical for his time. One must read his works to understand what is being said. The current Wikipedia, usually very good, unbiased info. Wikipedia does have some great stuff. A current Wikipedia page almost writes Nostradamus off as a total fraud. But you know what? I have read article after article of people touting natural medicine cures. Yet if you go to the traditional medicine sites, it basically tries to write natural cures off as poisons. Going to the American Cancer Society webpage, I did it about 2 years ago, so I'm very unsure of the date. But that seems to be about right, and to the best of my knowledge. So I don't really know. This is just what I think. So don't take this as absolute fact. But the American Cancer Society had a graph that shows that people without cancer treatment have fared about the same as those with it, except for maybe the last couple of years. But it is not a slam dunk, as the improvements are not any major thing where near 100% cure rates are seen. The cancer racket, in my opinion, is a racket, and as the cure is probably worse as people get sick and retarded treatment methods are used. Radiation, need I say more? I mean, that just sums it up about how ridiculous that is. Even though I think in recent years they made advances. And yes, the person might survive the treatment, and yes, the person might get better, but there is a good chance that the person may die of heart attack after they see the bill. So this cancer quackery example is to show that each side is biased by the cash and may not be completely trusted, in my opinion. Even this natural stuff gets out of kilter somewhat, but I think we should discourage that trying to stop natural cures, because that's a good thing. Some of the info they provide is good and truthful on either side, the cancer or the non-natural people, but that is done many times to give their opinion validity, as mixing facts and fiction to obscure the truth happens all the time. So one must proceed very cautiously and carefully, analyze each claim, and finally put together the best picture one can do for themselves. The conclusion is that Nostradamus' writing have too many red flags to be able to dismiss it as not having some validity. and on the contrary, the 1999 date suggests his works have at least some validity. Yeah, it seems like he does, you know. So the next thing is, Nazism. All races got their own way, as the evidence seems to suggest. Every race has a potential version of Nazism. Just replace the blank in before Nazism for the race. You know, replace the, you know, like if it's Jewish, Judaic Nazism, replace, you know, or Spanish Nazism, or any other race as Nazism, replace with the stereotypical behavior that is. For example, even if the stereotypical behavior of each race, replace it, you know, like Judaic Nazism would be stereotypical Jewish behavior, not you know, other types of behavior, because no race is probably perfectly set, you know. For example, even the Jewish race could fit into this equation. Like this, I'm just repeating what I said. You know, substitute Jewish into the blank to get Jewish Nazism. What the hell would that mean? Well, take stereotypical Jewish race attributes and apply it to Nazism. Well, stereotypical Jewish behavior is supposedly, I say supposedly because this is what I've heard from other people and gleaned from media, supposedly hogging money and resources. So Jewish Nazism would be the extreme of this, where force is used to carry out this type of behavior to an nth degree. I'm not saying this happens for Jews or any other race, but only that that is how that would work. That is probably why Germans kicked Jews out during World War II times, as their two theories are don't coexist. You know, when you do something to the extreme, it's very easy to have two things that can't coexist. You know, they can't coexist peacefully. So in all likelihood, all races are guilty of Nazism as applied their own racist way. So crying that the Nazis were the sole source of Nazism is wrong, and it shows. After the war, the whole war was brushed under the table, and most of the Nazis were allowed to escape and even incorporated in the countries that fought so hard to rid the world of Nazism, supposedly. The USA's use of Werner von Braun and other top Nazis scientists is a perfect example. That indicates that the world does not have Nazism, but that Nazism is just part of the games countries play in a big power. That's in a big power struggle. Yeah, Nazism is, yes, one thing that's aggravating is like Jews constantly saying about the Nazis, yet, you know, when they build all these construction projects and all this, they're brushing the past aside. They're their own revisionist history, like they talk about the Germans. So no race can talk about this, because they're just as guilty. It just doesn't seem, it's just not obvious, you know. It's not concentration level cruelty and all that, but in time it is cruel, and it does try to cover things up. All right, now it's time for this topic, atheism. It's hard to justify given the facts of nature, and that we sure fit into the image of God, is why atheism is hard to believe. Atheism is not possible, as we use God's powers every day and in every way. First, as I always say, if a designer at some organization were able to just design and build an insect from scratch we will be hailing them as the genius guru for millenniums to come. Spiders just happen to have silk that is stronger than anything man has ever made. Roaches are more bulletproof than Pablo Escobar. I mean, most insects appear to be of an ingenious design, and the list goes on and on. Beyond insects, it seems impossible to say the universe is not some grand design. That is what destroys the main crux to the Antichrist atheist theories. The part of life templates already being there, that is pre-existing DNA templates, and that base pairs just happen to form DNA by random interactions is possible. That's hard to believe. I mean, the random interaction part is believable, but that they just form these marvelous designs, that's not believable at all. The fact, actually an unknown, it's actually an unknown, but the fact that we have not been contacted by an alien civilization may be an indicator of the luck factor in forming DNA. Not to mention the Goldilocks habitable planetary zone, as aliens would have to get past both of these implausible probabilities to visit Earth. In a small sample of any material, there are zillions of molecules, which greatly raises the probability of bases combining together. In DNA, I'm talking about base pairs is what happens. Many of these theological arguments using probability are most likely flawed, being based on factoring out gravity and the extreme nature of chemical forces. However, scientists have only made an organism about 1,000 base molecules. One must remember that there are 4 bases making up the DNA sequence, with only 2 pairs possible, and now sequences result in proper structure needed for life, as the molecule must fold properly. Also, 1 phosphate is needed per each base pair, making it 3 molecules needing to come together. So first the atoms must come together and form a base a base, then form a base pair with another base, then add a phosphorus molecule, and then form a combination that actually works. Then that's where a huge leap comes in. We don't really know about that. It's huge odds against this, most likely. And then after that, not get destroyed by heat or radiation. Each such factor greatly reduces the odds of life forming. The conclusion that is based on the random base pairing, not design part. The conclusion of this. The conclusion there would be this is an extremely tricky argument on either side. Finally, we seem to be about the spitting image of God as stated in the Bible. Yet people claim they are the one. Well, considering much of mankind's knowledge was borrowed from analyzing nature, suggests that there is an intelligence in the universe. Otherwise, everything that mankind created from it would flop. But it hasn't, and on the contrary, has prospered. So that is where the atheist argument fails, as things in this world seem to follow a highly illogical structure that, if the theory of logic is true, is present in everything we do. You would not say a computer chip just happened to come into existence. I mean, why? The why is that it is too logical to become what it is without someone designing it. And not only mentioned probability theory, too. That is why the term intelligent designer seems to be so perfect as to how our world got to the way it is. People don't doubt how brilliant a design is when it is something created by humans. Yet, if it has to do with the God argument, then all of a sudden it is different. This error in logic is not even considering the input from spiritual unseen forces, which are nearly totally sequestered from verification of being real. Atheism is not Mythbuster plausible, even though Mythbuster show has been busted up because I don't think they're on anymore. Yeah, the only thing saving atheist theory about molecules coming together is that there's so many zillions of, little tiny pinhead. There's, zillions of atoms. That's the only thing, because any of these factors, whenever you got a probability, you keep multiplying them, and it gets smaller, and the probability gets smaller and smaller. Like if you took an arrow out and threw it at a board, every time you do and don't hit the bullseye, you're trying to say the odds of hitting in the bullseye. Every time, if the first time you have a 1 out of 4 chance, you keep multiplying 1/4. If everyone assumed that every chance is the same probability, 1/4 times 1/4, and you do that 100 times, you're like at astronomical odds. That's what's the base pair argument coming together is, hard to believe too, but it could happen. So, because the amount of molecules and atoms save it, how many there are that is possible. So, yeah, we're on the last page here. Oh, great. The last page here is the court removing the word. It is another last topic, I believe here. Yeah. No, the second last topic here. The court removing the word God from outside or inside government buildings. What's up with that? First of all, the U.S.A. was founded on the words, "In God we trust," and our freedoms, more like the degraded freedoms we now have, our freedoms are more like that, are all a result of this God thing. But now the powers that be are trying to take this covenant with God away from us by force. And people do it with their biblical behavior, thinking they're in control now, or acting like they're in control when they're not, an atheist, U.S.A. was founded on the idea of any person of any race can come here and be treated with respect, with the potential for economic success and equally, equally, I say that hesitantly because, however, slavery put a black mark on this theory because nevertheless the USA started out a wonderful trend and an idea, even if it is marred by some serious flaws, like slavery. How can you have all this freedom when you got slaves? So I guess it's a partial freedom, which has gotten better over the years, but, that has nothing to do with God either, so you got to rub that idea out of your head. Mankind created slavery, not God. So, trying to remove God's covenant with people of the USA is putting up 2 middle fingers up into the face of God, and people should be crying out until the Liberty Bell shakes. Yet they do nothing. It has to do with an obsession with putting the Antichrist in power, a process that is going on now. That's why Europe became unified in the European Union, but in 2016 started the breakup. Again, we're going to go through this. I already went through it before in this write-up, but why? First is letting the getting the world hooked on the Antichrist on a nationwide and worldwide basis, where everything is unified. Police type of theory. And now The second part, after 2016, is trying to revolve the world around the individual city-state type mentality or core type theory, where everyone can, everyone can go their own way. I mean, and without any consequences of overbearing one government type influence, not worried about who they injure in the process. Getting the world to follow the Antichrist, a person in this world that is an actual person alive today, is what this is all about. Yet I don't really need to mention this, as the Bible and Hitler did all the talking necessary. The Bible tells us that Europe is where the Antichrist will be born, and his stomping grounds. That's where the stomping grounds of the Antichrist will be, Europe. Hitler tells us, as he was allowed to go on a rampage, which broadcasts definitively that the Antichrist will be born in Europe, just like 9/11, 2001 was the signal that the second messenger after Jesus Christ, a part of Christ's Jesus or Christ's return, that was done to signal that this messenger lives in the U.S.A. Huge events like this are not just, it's pure darn luck, but are due to religious process. It should be illegal for our monopolistic media to portray this in the light that it is. The luck as monopoly should be required. No, it is, let's see here. Yeah, we shouldn't allow the media to portray this in the light that it is luck. All this stuff is luck. As monopoly should be required by law to do things in accordance with the way things are. Being in control of so much, and the media is like a monopoly now. Being in control of so much of the public makes it a must for vast organizations to be held strictly accountable for their activities. But it is actually the other way around in reality. I'm talking about, these mass actions. I'm not talking about, removing a chemistry set that they sell that has, some chemical in it that could be a little bit dangerous, but isn't really, not something screwy like that. I'm talking about them, being strictly accountable for trying to forge huge public policies and being in so much control while we got, nothing. But that ends this topic, and this is one more little short thing here to end all my 60 sides of page, or approximately, notes I have on this topic, and that is, if you all go along with the crap of today, the punishment shall be eternal. And the answer to that topic is you are almost there. I mean, we're right at the beyond the precipice point. And that does it for the second half of my the System Unmasked series. All the prepared script material I had, and that's basically about the end. So, in conclusion, with all this, I have given people enough weapons to solve all problems. Because it really only boils down to, as I said before, religion is the whole crux to everything. And, we got some new dangers, this new election thing. The atheist California state is trying to become a narco corridor all along, like I said before, Seattle, Oregon, California, and Mexico. This is one big chunk trying to to trying to get this, make it one big narco state, kind of, you know, like, because I said, it kind of includes Mexico. You know, technically Mexico was stolen by the U.S., supposedly, but it goes along. I have another, you know, more to this, but this is where the end is going to stop for a while because I'm under siege. I got a lot of stuff to do, and I can't continue on with the series. Who knows if this will be the last or not, but, you know, Mexico like slavery, allowed themselves to this to get stolen by the U.S. It has to do with religion. It has to do with the messenger and people in Mexico. I claim they're women that have religious powers. So they allowed this to happen so we can have this bilateral control, because people are thinking that they're going to use that to control the world, and you know, and also use the Antichrist in Europe to monopolize things. And that's why you should never let the United States go to the Middle East and get involved with this drugs, because that's where all the heroin and opium and stuff a lot of it comes from. I believe like 50% or more comes from there, and that's what that was all about, this getting involved. Well, I mean, one of the reasons, side reasons. And they've been playing around there so long that the eastern half of the country has been involved in that. And now they say, well, oh, well, probably going to stop that, and now we're going on to the western half of the country. You know, and California is the big player because they're right on the border with Mexico. In fact, I think one guy even had something about splitting California up. I know some legislator or something did that, suggested that, because of you're creating one big, huge, vast organization, you know. And Hispanic countries have the most, like, to the best of my knowledge, like most gang members and crooks and everything like that. So you're trying to forge one big crook organization, you know. And the criminal aspect works to a certain extent until you start getting, you know, the little light goes off in their eye and you see them like all glassy, like they're going to do something evil, or when the behavior gets beyond. So there's a serious issue going on, and it all indicates the messenger, the second messenger after Jesus, is in Southern California right now. But we're getting ready for a phase shift. I could tell by all the new construction projects and all the things going on that this happens wherever I go. When I get there, it's nice. They start wrecking it, like causing all kinds of tensions. And then it's time to go after a certain, you know, we turn into the white people's universe thing. It goes from minorities and stuff to white people's universe. And that's what's happening by Mexico now. So they're making a phase shift. It really, you know, they treated Hispanics all nice because they were, you know, white people were never going to, in my opinion, were never going to let them get that far. You know, that was only to get what they wanted out of it. It happens all the time. It's not a racial statement, but white people are in power in the United States. So whoever's in power, you know, now they're concerned that, yeah, Mexico, the Hispanics are getting too far out of kilter, and that's why the change is coming. And that's why I moved from neighborhoods, is because this process goes on and it affects every neighborhood wherever you are. I mean, it's not just me, it's all people, and that's why a lot of people move and stuff. You know, your neighborhood that you could trust is no longer the way you want it. You know, it's not like years back in the United States where people had the same job for 40 years and the same neighborhood. You know, that used to be common. That's kind of a cool thing, you know. It's gotten away from that. But that has its own problems of trapping people that don't want to be there, you know, either. But, you know, that stability is kind of nice. You know everybody. Everybody's kind of the man or the woman, you know. Like in these factories and shit, you had people that were all like the man and the woman, you know, the maintenance guy that did the welding and the fixing and all that kind of stuff, you know, which is kind of gone by the wayside because I don't think there's a lot of those people left anymore.
you know, if they're not doing that, the companies and stuff have moved, so they can't be the man or the woman because there's no more company. You know, that's how the modern world gets out of everything, is these big international maneuvers, which never should have been allowed to start in the first place. You know, and we're at a very dangerous time here. So I've given you all the ammunition to tackle this problem. It really is this whole thing. You know, most things like this in life are not necessary because people know already. This is not like any of this stuff is not news. But I mentioned the martyr thing. They want martyrs to go knock themselves out, get all abused, roughed up, you know, be hobbling around like me, and take all the brunt of it, all the action. Then when you get done with that, start mocking and ridiculing and chiding, you know, to make matters worse or to top it all off. That's what they want. It's just like Jesus. It's the Jesus effect. You know, got nailed to a cross. Look what happened. You know, they mocked him, said he can't even save himself at the end, you know. So that's what they want. Unfortunately, in the end, the people that did that aren't going to be around any longer. When I talk about any longer, we're talking about maybe forever. You got to remember that that God has a universe or a system to run. You know, is not going to be spending millions of years on people, which this is like a million-year buildup we're at this time. It's like a huge peak that'll never be recreated again, because eventually society is going to go on, if it survives, you know, and it'll be in a new plateau. So this is a huge time, and God's not going to waste, you know, I mean, if you told some person muckety-muck in a company that we're going to keep wasting time on this person over and over again, you know, you'd be fired. Look at Donald Trump. He got fired himself. He needs to go on an episode of Apprentice and say, Donald Trump, you fired yourself. You know, he needs to do that because he got fired. I mean, if you're not bringing home the bacon, you get fired, you know. I mean, like, that's what happens. And God, you know, I'm going to be like one of these condescending things people say. Well, you can see that, can't you? Like acting like I'm some kind of retard or something. Well, I say the same thing to people. You can see that, right? People just think that God is going to waste time after time and time. There's an end to it, you know. People just think it goes on and on. We're at the end time. The Armageddon. You know, it might just be the start of it, but that's it. If you don't get it, you're probably not going to get it. You know? God has wasted enough time. You know, it's like saying that one of my famous examples is you go to a company and the guy says, oh yeah, go borrow my car, and you know, he says you're going to get a promotion and everything, and you go wreck his car, have sex with their wife, you know, piss off all his bosses. Now that person's going to put you in a supervisor and keep you at the company? No way. Your ass is going to be packed up and out the door in seconds. So, but that's where the flaw, this as an atheistic approach, the flaw in logic in this world is astounding. Because they think that you could do all that, you know, when it comes to God, and that's acceptable. However, when you do with some person in the world, you wouldn't even, you know, you wouldn't even blow a mouse fart. So, in the list of that logic, errors goes on and on and on. It's a fatal flaw of non-genius people, I guess. Because you could join me, the non-genius. You know? If I'm dumb, then everyone else is dumber. Because the crux of this whole thing in the world is about not pissing God off and doing what's needed. You know, that's the whole crux. So I got that right, and that means that I'm the smartest man who ever lived, because it doesn't seem like there's any other people that, you know, I'm not the smartest man ever, but if it's relative to what is important, I am, because that's what's the most important thing, is not making yourself a slave by pissing off God and doing what's needed. You know, like I said before, the nuke thing is the next new plateau. I'm assuming they're trying to move on to this nuke thing. And they go through this process like the Trump thing where they protect themselves, Republicans, with this Defense Department thing. You know, they put Trump in there to protect them from other countries doing, or other people doing stuff. And now they're going with the Joe Biden thing. And when they put a left-wing person in, then that's to get everybody's information and blabber it all around so that they're, you know, instead of getting the Defense Department aspect, we got just this communist thing where you can't do anything because people know about it, you know, which is a danger when you're talking about applying it to a messenger from God. And it also creates a lot of animosity and dangers with regular other people, too. So that's about it. It's all about religion. You know, review my material if need be to help remind you. Like I said, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody knows what, and that's why they give me no fanfare, because they already know. It's already been disseminated, you know. And leave it to left-wing people, they're always disseminated. So before you do anything, you know, they're blabbering around information anyway, so it's pointless. But the thing is I should get, I've got nothing but a kick in the ass most of the time. I should get the credit for my work, you know, for doing this. Which left-wing people, by broadcasting, they don't do. Yeah, that's the government is trying to do this and feed me and people like me doing God's work a tidbit. And they're living eye on the hog. You know, or organizations. Anybody who's in charge or got a lot of money, they're just going to, like, try to go on. They're trying a new phase now. You know, I see Bill Gates is buying a lot of farmland. He's like a big, huge farmland owner. You know, then they're getting control of that. So the next step, if I do something, it's all being controlled and wrecked by these people that got you by the balls all the time. Yeah, so you just go on from the next plateau. We're at the next plateau. You know, the California routine thing is going by the wayside. Like I mentioned California because Hillary and Trump focusing all this attention on California. It's a save California thing. And so I know it's coming from there in Mexico because all the attention that's all of a sudden been thrust on it. Now the border at Mexico is being shored up. We're going to move on to a new topic, you know. You know, that's what the bottom line. And then they wreck everything in a new setup, and this goes on and on. I just, you know, like hanging on because it has health effects. You know, you go someplace and they're wrecking everything. You know, or a lot of things they let me go to the hilt on something, and then all of a sudden it stops and I got to move or something. And, you know, and this goes on for everybody. But not everybody has the option to move around and change. You know, I have to become like these government children people that sign their whole life away in some form, you know, that they got to fill out to get money. You know, like the Obama phone thing. It's, you know, we could be in for a rough ride, and that has to stop. I use these videos to stop this with Joe Biden here. Stop it right now because, this process has to stop now and not later. You know, if you want to live like a dweeb for the rest of eternity, well, then don't stop. But people are at the limitation point. And that about wraps it up for my written material, and a lot of ad-libbing in there. And I have to apologize to people that they're not perfect videos. Another thing is I got a lot of things in parentheses in my notes, and I guess when you're speaking, it doesn't turn out good. So some of the stuff seems garbled a little bit in my presentations. You know, I would like to redo this and take all that out and make a script that's meant to be broadcast because, yeah, I guess that's a tip I give video bloggers or whatever, you know, parentheses don't work well in these speeches, because I'm like, that's why I'm constantly once in a while going over some. It's in parentheses. That has made a few things kind of a little bit garbled, but you should be able to get the gist from there. So I think I'm going to stop there with the written part, and good luck to everyone, in spite of how rotten a lot of people have been. You know, there's been some good people along the way, too, that have done something which counts with God extremely, because all it takes is a little bit nowadays. People don't want to do anything. And they gang up on people that are doing good. So that's where it's hard to get. There's good people that I think would do a lot more good, but they're constrained, you know. Like the constrained police officer that does good, and then all of a sudden they dummy up because they don't want to be fired or whatever. So I'm like, hopefully I'll be able to revamp this someday or whatever. And that ends my notes. Take all this information and make the world better. No matter what, that's the way it is. So good luck. God bless, and hope you enjoyed my video presentations up to this point in the System Unmasked. This is my 60 pages of, approximately 60-sided pages, part of the presentation. All right, let's get this damn job done. You're not just Army people. Now you're Gyrenes, which is an old term for Marines. That they're supposedly the Marines were much tougher. So we have to get much tougher and grin and bear it and get through this and make the world a better place. And stop this retarded religious atheism, antichrist thing. You know, not make you not atheists, but get off this antichrist thing, because even an atheist could possibly be, you know, pretty good. All right. Thank you.
This image represents all the crap coming at you. The average person these days has their plate full. COVID-19, climate change, a new countrywide arms race, oppressive organizations, the Antichrist has returned, and citizens run amok. And there is even more logs on the fire than ever before. The time for reform is now. All of humankind is at the precipice called Armageddon. Missing the boat on this one is not an option. Stay tuned for more of the only realistic unmasking of the world as to how it really operates, and for more real solutions to all the world's problems once and for all. So again, stay tuned as our Cape Crusaders in this world get unmasked one by one. But can the world survive without unknown do-gooders? This is the System Unmasked channel signing off until next time, at the same bad channel, at the same bad time.